Welcome to Life of Tri. Remember to subscribe to the channel for all the latest triathlon hints and tips and videos. So in the last 24 hours we've had some major news, and Ironman has decided to postpone two of its biggest events. The two events are the World Championships in Kona, Hawaii, and the 70.3 in New Zealand. The 70.3 moves every year. Last year it was in Nice in France, and then this year it's in New Zealand. But if we talk about Kona to begin with, it's the one event that anyone doing a full distance Ironman event, that's the dream. That's where everyone wants to get to. In order to get to both of these events, you have to qualify. So you have to have done an Ironman branded race previously. You have to be good enough in order to get high enough within your age group, within your time that is, in order to qualify. Unless you're a pro athlete and you're getting points elsewhere. But ultimately, in 2020, we have the coronavirus lockdown and the races aren't happening. The races are being cancelled left, right and centre. In the last few days, we've seen a plethora of events that are going into July, August, September and now October, with Kona being cancelled. So people or athletes cannot get to their races in order to qualify to get to Kona. You will have races that happened to the tail end of last year and the beginning part of 2020 where people would have qualified for Kona. But the main body of events that have been happening, and we're talking from March onwards now, and within May, the races aren't there for people to qualify. So I can understand where Ironman is coming from. They want to protect the sport, but also they've got a brand and they've got a business to run, so they don't want to just lose that particular event because it's a cash cow for them. It gets the coverage. It gets people to the island of Hawaii. It's where it originated from. So they've decided to postpone it until February the 6th, 2021, which means next year, if that does go ahead, there'll be two Kona World Championship races happening in 2021. Some would argue, and I pretty much fall on this side of the fence, that if two events happen in the same year and they're 6 months apart, will that take away from the one event? Will it lose some of its special appeal? Or, I suppose if you jumped on the other side of the fence, you could argue that, will this ever happen again? And will we have an event happening in February? The last time the World Championships happened in February, and it's one of the first events that Ironman ran, and that was 1982. I was 1, so I don't remember it at all. But it's, there's a lot to discuss there, and there's a lot of heritage being lost and moving the event for the first time in however long. The other race, which I've already mentioned, was the half Ironman, or the 70.3, and that it was supposed to happen in New Zealand. New Zealand, if you're following the news and you're following the sort of the global effect and the response from various countries regarding the pandemic, New Zealand have been quite at the forefront, and they're sort of seen as a bit of a shining light on how to do things. There's a bit of a caveat with that because New Zealand is a small country. You're not talking 60, 100, 120 million people here. I think their population is around 4 or 5 million. So it's a lot more rural. They don't have the sort of densely populated areas that some of parts of the United States or Europe would have. So it's difficult to compare. But what New Zealand have done is more or less totally shut down their islands, and at the moment there is no one outside going in. That event was going to happen in November 2020. So to make a call this early, I suppose, is a good thing. But again, people haven't got the races that are happening prior to it in order to qualify for that race as well, because again, that is another race where you have to qualify. So some of my thoughts on that, I do think Ironman have done the best thing. They've let people know very early. The date for the 70.3 in New Zealand has not been released. They're still talking to the governments there, and I suppose they're still talking to the local authorities within Hawaii as well, and on what will happen on February. But there's a number of events that are still happening, or still scheduled to happen in Ironman Wales, which again is my local race. That is still on the cards as things stand. Whether it will go ahead, I'm not entirely sure. A lot of people have more or less asked for it to be pulled now, because the amount of people deferring it, how much of an event will you have anyway when it comes to run? And that's the beginning of September. We're coming to the middle of May at the moment, and although some of the restrictions are being lifted, I can't see restrictions on large groups gathering being lifted anytime soon. So yeah, there are my thoughts on it anyway. It'd be good to get some feedback from you guys. Interact with us on social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, but also in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe. It'd be great to hear from you. Anyway, keep in touch and we'll speak soon.